On Two Wheels this week, we'll meet Andy Martindale. He's designed a revolutionary new exhaust can. It's very loud, but it's still road legal. And have you ever wondered how they test a waterproof motorcycle boot? Well, we'll show you. And I'll meet Darren Berrisford. He's the proud owner and creator of a Fireblade streetfighter. But first, Jeff and I off on a little Two Wheels outing across the Channel and into France. Regular viewers to Two Wheels might recall that a couple of years ago now, Jeff and I went across to France. We went on an MCI tour to Lille in northern France. We had a fantastic time, saw some great places and made some great friends, so we thought it was about time we did the whole thing all over again. So what better excuse than MCI's 10th anniversary tour? Of course, it calls for a celebration. It's a Champagne tour. We're in France again. We're in the Champagne region. And Jeff is with Alistair McFarlane. He's the man behind the company, as they say, to find out more. Cheers.
Alistair, got you with a glass of champagne in your hand as well. And you're looking very pleased with yourself, but tell me, the first thing you think of, bikes and champagne, they don't seem to be something that goes together. So what's this tour all about?
Well, I think you've got to bear in mind, Jeff, this one is our celebration tour. We've been doing motorcycle tours throughout the whole of Europe for the past 10 years, and this is our spiritual home.
Oh, literally. So what's this one actually about then? Because that's sort of set the scene, but we're on this tour of the Champagne region.
Yeah. When we first started doing tours in Europe, we brought people over for a weekend, a long weekend, 3-4 days at a time. And one of the favourite tours out of all the trips that we used to do was coming here to the Champagne region. I've got a personal interest in this beautiful nectar.
Yeah.
So to come back here on the 10th anniversary trip was actually just a natural and a logical choice.
So let's backtrack just a little. Day one had started with an early ferry crossing from Dover. It's a good opportunity to meet the rest of the party. And at just 1 hour and 15 minutes, not too long to endure the constant rolling and pitching of the English Channel. As Calais approached, we headed for the bikes and prepared to disembark. But this was to be the end of the journey for one unlucky rider. His Cagiva Raptor had decided it didn't fancy the journey through France and had dumped all of the fluid from its rear shock.
Drama aboard ship.
So off the boat through passport control and into a car park, where Alistair gave us a quick talk on the journey ahead and gave us a few do's and don'ts about riding in convoy.
One big hit down to the service area, staying on the A26, which is this road here. A26, following signs for Reims. Please don't go off to Boulogne. Please do not go off to Dunkirk. We are going to Reims today on the A26. As far as Junction 11, and after Junction 11, there is a service area marked Aire de Villas. We'll be piling into Aire de Villas, and that's where we're going to stop for lunch.
A quick check of the map, everybody happy, and it was off to our first stopping point. A petrol station and a cafe about 90 miles away along the A26. The weather at Calais had been damp but not raining, and this didn't last long. We were soon being battered by heavy rain, strong winds and even sleet. 80 odd happy smiling bikers were starting to look a little bit the worst for wear.
It's not easy, this job. I get it when it's easy.
We're sat here on the side of the A26, having just come through the most beautiful French countryside in wonderful weather. Was what I thought we were going to get. We've come through hail and snow, so we're sat here totally fed up, cold, but loving every minute of it.
Are we downhearted?
The next report's in an hour.
Listen, Neil.
Eventually the rain stopped. Everyone fed and watered, and we set off for the second leg. There was a choice of routes, a very pretty scenic route taking in some spectacular French countryside, or the more direct road along the A26 through Reims and on to our destination, the town of Épinay, deep in the heart of the Champagne region and about 200 miles from Calais. Jeff and I took the more direct route. The fact that we actually missed our turning off the A26 is another story. But we arrived in Epernay ahead of the main convoy, which gave us the opportunity for a quick ride around the town. We'd seen some pretty awful weather along our journey, but the main convoy on the pretty scenic route had seen much worse. And Fireblade riding Neil was definitely not impressed with the state of his bike.
It's absolutely, I wouldn't let anybody get on that, would you?
Neil will tell you what the problem
I've got to try and find a jet wash. I've been dirt tracking on the N roads in France.
Really, mate?
Now when I left Nottingham, this was pristine. You wouldn't believe me.
I believe you.
Absolutely pristine.
Oh well, never mind Neil, it'll all come out in the wash. Perhaps he'll feel better after some champagne tasting and a good meal. That was to be the evening's agenda. A trip to a local chateau where champagne is made, and a chance for us all to pretend we really know what we're talking about when it comes to bubbly. Now what's happening here is this French gentleman here is explaining all about champagne, you see. And he's explaining that what you do is you look at it first, you pour it out, you don't drink it straight away, you look at it. And it's clear as a bell. You hold it up to a candle, it's absolutely clear as a bell. Crystal clear, it's bubbling away nicely. Then you smell it. Smells like champagne to me. And then you taste it. And all these people are connoisseurs. That's why they've gone on this trip, especially because they know it's a champagne tour. And they're all connoisseurs. They know good champagne. That's why they're here. I'm here because it's free.
Well, I'll drink to that, but I'll tell you one thing, Paul was right in everything he said, except the bit at the end about it being free. It's not really free, it's all in the price. These people aren't daft, they don't get something for nothing, but Paul hasn't quite worked that out. But still, he's going to find that out soon. But the important thing, I must say, with someone shouting at the background there, that all the bikes are safely locked up. The keys are with the reception, and we're in a coach, so perfectly safe. Don't drink and drive. And I'll drink to that as well.
You know that Jeff Stone will drink to anything given half a chance. But anyway, with our first champagne tasting session complete, we boarded a coach and took a short trip to a nearby hotel for an evening meal. It was a chance to make friends and share some biking stories. Oh, and to drink some more champagne. It wasn't until the whole group sat together in one room that Jeff and I began to realise the size of this party. Not to mention the amazing variety of bikes, as Alistair had earlier explained.
One thing that's fascinated us on this, Alistair, is that there's 57 bikes and about 84 people. Is there something like that?
I think it's the interest, Jeff. I think people want to get away on the bikes. There's more people coming into motorcycling now, looking for interesting things to do. They want to get away from the congested roads in England, and you've seen it for yourself here. You ride the roads of France, generally uncongested. The people here who drive the cars, people have been on scooters since the age of 14, so you tend to have a lot more road awareness. It's a lot safer environment, it's a lot more pleasurable, and when you come to a lovely place like this, there's just loads to look at.
And look, I've got to be honest with our viewers, because they will have seen this. Now, today it's sunny. It wasn't pleasurable yesterday, was it? In fact, I mean, it was so hectic yesterday, what with the weather and whatnot, I couldn't catch up with you to sort of have a natter with you, but I mean, that weather, terrible, wasn't it? How often is it like that?
Very unusual for France at this time.
Yeah.
We were in Le Mans last week, Jeff, and I was getting a suntan.
Yeah.
Down at the circuit, we were there for the 24-hour racing.
We got frostbite this time, didn't we?
And today, up on the mountains there, I stopped just to show people the wine cooperative that's up the top of Reims there. Lovely views over the valley, and just as we pulled up, snowflakes like that, it was unbelievable.
I know, terrible. And all that rain, and you went off on the little lane yesterday, didn't you? Covered in mud and all the rest of it.
But we're hardened, you see, we're English and we're over here, and you know, it's fine.
But look, organising a tour like this, I know you're vastly experienced, but I mean, it's a handful, isn't it? That's a lot of people to keep them together, and you must feel like an army commander when you're saying to people, fill up with petrol here, share the costs, it speeds things up, and go over there to get your food, you know.
I think the key to any successful tour, Jeff, is in the planning.
Yeah.
I think the more effort that you put in to the organisation of the tour, the easier it is when you're actually on tour itself. And I think that goes for people who are trying to organise their own holidays abroad. If you're going to set out and do France, then really you've got to do some research before you go, decide the things that interest you, and go looking for those things. For example, on this tour, we're on a champagne tour, so we've managed to fit in 3 visits to 3 different champagne houses. If you're trying to do that on an ad hoc basis, you wouldn't know where you were going, the places would be shut, you'd be turning up at at the wrong time. It's all about the organisation and planning.
Yeah, and the same, and not only that, I mean, you've got a trip to Reims Cathedral as well. We're going there to have a look, see, and around the town in general. But just pulling all these loose things together, it probably helps that you've got a regular clientele to some extent. A lot of these people have been with you before. Is that because it's a 10-year one, or do you find this happens anyway?
Well,
people can't get enough of Alistair, is that right?
Can't get too much of Alistair. I don't know. I think we must be good at what we do, Jeff, because people do come back, and it's very reassuring to me. I get very nice comments, I get lovely letters after the tour, and I just like the people who come away with us. I enjoy showing them things that are stimulating, interesting. The fun for me is the research, the organisation, the planning, and then when we're coming out of Calais and riding and got 20 or 30 bikes behind, and you say to yourself, well, if I wasn't organising
57 this time, yeah, that's right.
It wouldn't happen.
No. And one other thing that interests me, people are going to think, oh, touring is not for me and all the rest of it, but the range of bikes we've got here, the MV4, you know, and there's 595s and R1, CBRs and all the rest of it, that must have ceased to surprise you now. So you get the whole range. If it's a motorbike, it comes on a tour, doesn't it? So it seems.
I think a lot of the stuff we get now is late model.
Yeah.
Majority of people who are doing touring abroad, touring holidays abroad, are on bikes that are no more than 3 years old. So it will reflect whatever the fashions are in the marketplace. We've had people turn up on gull wings, late model gull wings. Somebody's here on an FJR 1300, aren't they, Jeff?
Yeah.
And what a pleasure for everybody else to see that.
Yeah.
You know, I do believe Alistair was referring to Jeff and myself. But we'll leave the Champagne tour there for this week, and we'll continue the story next time, when we'll visit 2 more champagne houses, we'll meet some of the bikers on the trip, I'll impress you with my command of the French language.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Well, maybe not. And Jeff gets so tipsy on brandy and ice cream sorbets, he agrees to be interviewed by a man holding a champagne glass. But still to come this week, a street fighting Fireblade. We test some waterproof boots and a brand new kind of exhaust. Okay, street fighters. Fancy bikes with loads of polished shiny bits and modified fairings and fancy paint jobs. Just like this one. We haven't exactly got a fancy paint job, we've got a lot of modifications on this, which is a Fireblade, and this is the owner, Darren Berrisford. Darren, I know it's a Fireblade.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bits I don't recognise on it.
Yeah.
How much of it is still Fireblade, this?
Basically, frame, bodywork's mainly Fireblade. It's got scooter nose cone on it.
A scooter nose cone? What's that off?
Peugeot Speed Fight.
Is it? Peugeot Speed Fight nose cone, right? Okay.
Just to give it a deflection and alter front end slightly.
Right.
It's got.
Is the motor fairly standard? Have you done anything?
It's standard at the moment, yeah.
How did it start life, this, Darren? Did you?
I actually bought it damaged because a lot of folks wait till they damage it and then do such as this. But
right.
I intended to start. I went to Street Fighter Club for my previous bike.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something different, so I did a blade. So
right.
instead of buying a standard blade, taking it up fairing off and
right.
chucking it in the shed, I bought one that was slightly damaged and did it anyway.
Right. So you bought it with the intention of doing this,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Right. I do like this exhaust system you've got on it, Darren. This aftermarket can. Beautiful, that. Ducati style, isn't it?
Yeah, the actual Ducati cans, it's just, me and mates, I wanted everything symmetrical and follow the shape of the bike and everything, so we just fabricated the pipe work.
Have you made all the pipe work to go down there? Because there's got to be a split piece under there
splits
somewhere.
under belly pan.
So you've done all that yourself?
Yeah.
It's terrific.
It's
beautiful. It looks like you say, it's symmetrical. If you cut that down the back in a line there, it fall in 2 halves, wouldn't it? It's put in the little flush indicators as well, just to
follow it on.
It's really very, very neat indeed. So we've got engine and frame and bodywork. What bit of bodywork's left?
Standard.
It's Fireblade.
It's got GPZ front belly pan.
Is that what it is?
It's slightly wider, it's about 6 inch wider.
Right.
And then just basically polished it all up.
And of course you've got all the hoses and everything, all the standard sort of Street Fighter style thing.
Yeah, just to brighten it up. And
a fancy private number plate as well, which you bought for it, eh?
Yeah,
do you know what it's cost you to do this? I know it took you a lot of time.
Yeah, money wise, probably about £1,000.
Is that all?
So
that's because you've done it yourself and you've got mates who will help you.
Like,
well, that's not a fortune,
with Street Fighter Club, we've got people that give us discounts, and I know who's in and this and this, so which all helps.
What's it like to ride?
Nice, it's good.
Is it?
Yeah,
how different is it to the standard blade? It's the same, is it?
Better riding position.
You've got higher bars, obviously.
Yeah, it's obviously a bit more tough heavy, but it still corners as good as a blade.
You're not a bit of a wheelie freak, are you, with them bars on it?
It comes up easy. Yeah.
Only on private property like this, right?
Yeah. Don't do it on highway.
All right, I've got to ask you now. I mean, it's beautiful. It's lovely. Is it finished?
No, it's never finished.
It's never finished. Everyone says that about street fighters. They're never finished. So what's you got to do on it?
I don't like the front mud guard, so
Right.
that's coming off soon, being altered. I might change wheels, I don't know yet.
They're nice, them wheels. They match the paint. But if you change
Yeah,
the wheels, you'd have to respray it.
I'm altering the paint, keeping base colour same, but having some stuff added to it.
Excellent.
So,
Well, you better start saving up then.
yeah.
Well, it's a lovely thing. It's a credit to you. It's smashing. Well done.
Now, if you're a motorcyclist in the UK, you can rest assured that you will require a pair of waterproof motorcycle boots because of our inclement weather. Now then, fair enough, a waterproof pair of boots. So you might say to yourself, well, how do they know they're waterproof? How do they test them? Well, we're at the Johnny Scarpi factory in Italy, and it's near Venice. So what they do is they send a little bloke out with a pair of boots on, and he stands in the streams and in the rivers of Venice waving the gondolas by. No, they don't, you fools, do they? They have a special high-tech machine, such as this. Now, what happens is they put water on the inside of the boot, and then this machine goes flying round at a ridiculous speed, and centrifugal force will indeed, if they're going to leak, force the water out of the boot, and it will show. It will obviously splash everywhere, and it will show on the outside of the boot. Now, here's a pair that has indeed been tested, and it has in fact got water in. Oh, it's also got a little goldfish. Never mind. Anyway, look, it's definitely wet. There's loads of water in it. But even though it's been thrown around several thousand times, there is no wetness on the outside of the boot. Success, a waterproof boot.
Ah, yes, but I know what you're saying. You're saying, but boots sometimes don't leak until you start walking in them, until you start bending them, flexing them. Ah, well, they've thought of everything here, you see. We've got another machine here which tests just that, because down there are a couple of feet. And what they do is, as you can see there, they put a boot on the feet. That trough would normally be full of water, and they switch it on, and the feet walk. They go up and down like that. 300,000 flexes, as they call it. And it's all tested, it's all computerised and very technical, and there are sensors all over those feet, and they come up here on these little readouts here, and should the boots leak, it'll show you exactly where they're leaking, and they'll be rejected and thrown away. So all I would say, the bottom line is, if you buy a pair of boots that say these boots are waterproof, you'd be very, very unlucky if they leak, if they've been on a machine like this, because believe me, with tests like this, there aren't many will slip through the net. Let's imagine the perfect biking day out, eh? Out in the sunshine on your sports bike with your race exhaust on, your black visor and your small number plate. Oh dear, dear, dear. No, can't do any of those things. Black visors, they're illegal. Small number plates, they're against the law. And race cans, again, they're illegal. But I'll agree that race cans do actually make some bikes sound very nice, and they make them perform a bit better as well. You get a bit more power. So what if you want some of those things from your exhaust, but you want to stay within the law? Well, it can now be done, and I know a man who's got the answers. He's called Andy Martindale, and he works here at Quill. Andy, what's it called, first of all?
It's called Power Flow Silencer.
Right, and it's legal,
It is.
but it sounds like a race exhaust.
It's
Is
virtually like a race can, yeah.
It's a virtual race can.
It is a virtual race can.
Is it as noisy then as a race can?
Not quite, but it has got a really nice tone to it. It's not quite as loud as a race can, but it certainly has a nicer tone than, say, a standard road legal silencer.
Right. Okay. Now this might be an unfair question. It's unfair to ask you to generalise, but how does it do it? Is that full of electronic trickery and gadgets in there, or whatever?
No, it isn't. No, basically, what we've done is we've developed the internals to actually cancel out noise at the required limit, the required point in the rev range, which makes it road legal. After which point it starts to make more noise, like a race can does. Right. It actually gives more performance. It's got a nicer tone to it. It's a lot lighter than a standard can, and basically it's everything that the biker needs.
Well, it sounds like the answer to everybody's dreams, really. So this has been a long time in the development. How long has it taken you this now?
It's taken us 2.5 years to develop this.
And there's only you done this?
Yes.
It's unique to you, this?
That's right, yeah.
Blimey. Right, so 2.5 years in the development. That's cost a lot of money,
Yeah,
obviously,
a
and
lot of
time and things. So you're going to have to recoup some of that. So
Yes.
I'd guess that they're pretty expensive.
No, same price as a race can.
Are they?
We've done that on purpose to basically give the biker a choice.
Yeah.
I can safely say that eventually this will be the only choice for a biker.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think is this the way forward then?
I certainly think it's the way forward.
Because the law's getting tighter and tighter, isn't it? I mean, people are getting...
The fines are getting heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
People are just worried about going on the bikes on the road with a race can on.
Right. Can you have it for any bike?
Yeah,
sports
we
bikes,
do
I
it for a
presume?
range of sports bikes. Right. For instance, we've just developed it for the Phaser 1000.
All right,
It
yeah.
works extremely well on that bike. It smooths out the power curve perfectly.
And is that why this is here, the new 600F
Yes, that's right.
Sport?
Yeah, we've just got this one now, and we're going to, well, basically put it on the dyno as a standard bike, see what kind of power output it has,
Right.
and then get to work on it with, well, first of all, we're going to put a race can on it, see what we can get out of it, and then we'll put the power flow can on, and develop that around it, and see how close we can get to a race can sort of power curve with it.
So you're going to improve the power, make more noise and stay within the law?
Yes.
Perfect, there you go. So if you do want to make a lot of noise and improve your power, now you can do it legally. And on Two Wheels next week, part 2 of our little champagne tour across to France. Jeff and I get completely and utterly lost on the outskirts of Reims, and tour organiser Alistair terrifies the French waiters with his bagpipes. Also next week, Jeff meets a bike riding surgeon from Yorkshire. Toby Branford gives us some first aid advice for bikers and tells us what to do in the event of an accident.